Hi guys, welcome to a hobby experiment. I've seen multiple sources recommend different products for pigment fixing. Official fixers, mineral spirits, which are also known as white spirits, and alcohol. Well, I wondered, which one do I use? My answer, all of them. And let's find out if there's a best option. This is my first time using pigment powders, and I'm glad you're joining me on this adventure. I'm going to go through the whole process of weathering some Star Wars Legion barricades, start to finish, so you can see everything along the way. I began by priming with some Army Painter gunmetal, and here I'm starting with Abtalung 502's Bitume color, though I've tested a Winsor & Newton raw umber oil paint, and it's almost identical. I'm mixing with some white spirits until I get my desired consistency. I'm looking for a very thin wash consistency, where just a tint of pigment remains when I drag my brush. Getting there, but it needs just a few more drops of mineral spirits. There, that's what we're looking for. Now we go crazy and slap some wash on these guys. A larger brush would have helped me get through these faster, but I don't have a dedicated large brush for oils. And you want a dedicated oil brush, because cleaning them up with solvents like mineral spirits is really hard on the brush. Alright, one down, 3 more to go. Time to enter warp speed. Wait until the mineral spirits from the wash are dry, then we begin the removal process. You can speed up the drying with a hairdryer if you're in a hurry. Even though the mineral spirits have dried from it, the oils will still be active and can be removed with a makeup sponge, like I'm doing here, or Q-tips. If you use Q-tips, be aware they can leave behind some fuzzy strands, so you might have to do some cleanup from that. I also just picked up some eyeshadow applicators. I've seen some hobbyists use them, but I have no idea, or had no idea what they were called. They seem like a makeup sponge at the end of a small stick, like a combination of a sponge and a Q-tip. I'm looking forward to giving them a try. If you have some parts that you want the oil paint removed from, but is being stubborn, or you just want a less grimy look, you can use just a little bit of mineral spirits on a Q-tip to help remove them. Be careful with that though. When I say a bit, I mean just a bit. I dab most of it off on a paper towel before even touching your model with the Q-tip. Now we're going to do a little dry brushing. Starting with a gunmetal, wipe off most of your brush onto a paper towel, then we'll aim our brush perpendicular to the edges to show more wear and less grime buildup there. After finishing one, I repeat this for the other 3. Finally, time to start adding pigments. I'm using Mig Jimenez Middle East Dust because I think it'll give a nice Tatooine color to the barricades. You'll want to use a trashy brush because I'm sure these aren't good for their longevity at all. I went pretty heavy on some of these. This had the side effect of making me have to add more fixer to wet the area enough because the pigment just kept soaking up the liquid. Also on my control barricade, I went so heavy in a few spots that blobs of pigment are there that don't really look great to me. This is probably a case of less is more. If you do find yourself going heavy in some spots, I bet you could fix it by just feathering out the pigments a little bit or tapping them off. Now for the actual test. We have Mig Jimenez Fixer, Mineral Spirits, and isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to start by using the official pigment fixer, I'll reiterate, use a trash brush, because this definitely would have ruined this brush if it hadn't already been well past its life. Again, this was my first time using pigment powders, so I had a bit of a learning curve. I added a lot of fixer to my brush and soaked the barricade. This caused some of the pigments to shift and move with the flow of the liquid. As I went along, I think I got better, but the barricade with the official fixer was a bit blotchy. Later on, I started using less liquid and just tapping the brush against the barricade and letting the capillary action of the powders just pulling the fixer into themselves do most of the work for me. That seemed to produce a better result. I also shouldn't have been going straight to the pot each time because I probably introduced some pigments into my fixer pot. It would be a much better idea to take out some with a dropper and put it on a palette as an intermediary surface. I'm going to continue on like this until I finish all the barricades. Now that the fixers have dried for a bit, let's take a look and see how they turned out. You can see the control, where I didn't add any fixer, still has a nice matte, dusty look to it. The Mig Jimenez fixer seems to have added a bit of a shine where I applied it. Also, it reduced the dusty effect and gave it more of an overall just grimy effect. The mineral spirits to my eye look almost identical to the pigment fixer, but with just a little less glossiness. Finally, the alcohol is matte and retained a really nice dusty look. I think if you're not planning on seal coating a miniature, I'd either recommend just not fixing the pigments at all or just using alcohol. And to round out this test, I added a coat of Tester's Dull Coat, my current favorite seal coat. I think it has enough of a sheen that it doesn't ruin the metallic effect, like some dull coats can. As we look through them, I can see that Dull Coat really evened out the sheen of the fixers. After seal coating them, I have a really hard time telling them apart. I suppose if I had to have some kind of result from this experiment, I'd say I'd just use alcohol if I wasn't sealing anything, like for a display piece. If I'm sealing, though, I think almost all of them look comparable. Since they're so close, I may just recommend whatever you can find cheapest, which is probably isopropyl alcohol. But what do you guys think? I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments. What product works best for you? Did you learn any lessons from your experiences? Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.